Okay, I'm sorry I hadn't done this in a while because I really been kind of I know it's like been a month, but I've been kind of busy, running around doing stuff. Um, my daughter had her trip last week. She enjoyed it. She got to go to a place I really would have liked to been an artist at, but fate had it, or it didn't happen that way. But hopefully, she will be able to. And I don't want to use the name of the company, but most people know that she went to the mouse. Yeah, mouse. Okay, the episodes I have been doing is I have been reading from this book called Bible Readings for the Home. It's a book that I got at a yard sale, and it's from 1963, and it's against the papacy. And whatever verses I use, answering, it's got questions, and it's got a verse or what they think uh, should be the answer. Um, my advice is to always go and research it for yourself. I am a very bad sight reader, extremely bad. I've always been this way. It's just something that I do. Um, and hopefully these readings help try to strengthen that up, but not very much because, whew. And the reason why I'm reading these Bible stories or Bible books is just, I just want to. And I've got previous videos on my channel that I took a book, the Bible story. I have all ten, the Bible stories by Maxwell, and I read every single one of them out loud and shown the pictures and everything. Um, and that was a few years ago. I actually sat down and took the time to read those. Just this, I really hadn't uh, do it. Okay, where we are. I'm in part 15 of this book, and I've already read the first three ones. You can always go back to the previous episodes to hear it. And I'm going to start on this episode, ones that I'm going to start with. Uh, the headline of the article is called Gossiping and Backbiting. Okay. Um, the subheadline to the article, The Tongue and the Heart. Question. What does the ninth commandment forbid? Quote, Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Exodus 20, verse 16. Note, the evident object, the evident object of this commandment is to guard the rights, interests, and the repetition, re, repetition, reputation of our neighbor by guarding our conversation and conflicting our words to that which is strictly true. Um, it has a funny way of splitting this word apart. Excuse me. Okay. The next question. The introduction of John the Baptist gives the soldiers who ask of him advice regarding the way of life. What instruction? Okay. What instruction did John the Baptist give the soldiers who asked him advice regarding the way of life. Quote, and he said to them, do violence to no man, neither curse any falsely, and be content with your wages. Luke 3:14. I just let me think for a second. I don't think, I may be wrong, but I don't think John the Baptist talked to some soldiers. But that's because I know he got put in jail. And okay, um, uh, let me not go right down that rabbit hole. Okay, question: what is one test to a perfect man? Quote: if any man offend you in word, the same is if any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. James 3:2. Now I know James talks about the tongue a lot, talks about words and how words affect life, and he I know I do remember that because I remember, I don't know if it was a sermon or a story or reading it myself, but yeah, James talks a lot about the mouth, words coming out of the mouth and everything. But okay, let's get back to the book. Okay. Question: how did Christ teach the importance of guarding our speech? Quote, but I say unto you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Matthew 12:36 and 37. Question: to whom are our words all known? Quote, for there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Lord, thou knowest it altogether. Psalms 139 verse 4. Question: of what are one words of what are one's words an index? Quote, out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. Matthew 12:34. Okay. Now we got another subtitle, and it says the tattlebearer. Question: what conduct is dealing with our fellow men is condemned by the scriptures. Quote, thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am the Lord. Leviticus 19:16. Question: to what are the words of a talebearer compared by Solomon? Quote, and quote, the words of a talebearer are as wounds. Proverbs 26:22. Yeah, talebearer, ones that say words that hurt. Okay. Question: what is their effect? Quote, he that converteth a transgression seeketh love, but he that repeateth a matter separateth very friends. Proverbs 17:19. Okay. He that he that speaks wrong seeks love, but he that repeateth a matter separate friends. Yeah, if you ever really think about that, that happens. You say one thing and somebody repeats it and it gets turned upside down or twisted or anything. Yeah, I've actually had that done in my life. And some of it I don't pay attention to and some of it I do. Okay, let me get back. Question. What would follow if there is no tail barrier? Quote, there where no wood is, there the fire goes out. So where there is no tail barrier, the strife ceases. Proverbs 26:20. Question. Among other things, what did Paul fear he would find in the Corinthian churches? Or will find in the Corinthian church? Quote, for I fear lest when I come, I shall not find you such as I would, and that I shall not find shall and that I shall be found unto you such as you would not, lest there be debts, engraved, envying, in envying, wrath, strife, backbiters, backbiting, whispering, swelling, tumults. 2 Corinthians 12:20. So what this little thing says that he was feared that if he got to Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, or in this, that he would find nothing but people that's causing trouble and a bunch of gossip, and he was scared of that, or not scared, but he was fearful of it. Okay, question: what result follows backbiting and like evils? Quote, for all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Excuse me. But if ye backbite and devour one another, take heed that ye do not consume one of another. Galatians 5:14 and 15. Question. To whom is the promise made of to whom is the promise made of abiding in the tabernacle of the Lord and dwelling in his holy hill? Quote, he that walketh upright and worketh righteousness and speaketh the truth in his heart, he that backbiteth not with his tongue, nor doeth evil to his neighbor, nor taketh up a reproach against his neighbor. Psalms 15:2 and 3. Note, Kirkle is quoted as saying, quote, never carry a sword in your tongue to wound the the reputation of any man, end quote. Noah Webster laid down this rule, quote, you should say nothing of a person in his absence that he should be willing to say if he were present, end quote. Now how few govern their conversations according to this rule. And it says, see Proverbs 31:19-26. Okay, question. What caution is given in regards to receiving an accusation against an elder? Quote, against an elder, receive not an accusation, but before 2 or 3 witnesses. 1 Timothy 5:19. Note, quote, many who listen to the preaching of the Word of God made it the subject of criticism at home. They sit in judgment on the sermon as they would on the words of a lecturer or political speaker. The message that should be regarded as the word of the Lord to them is dwelt up with trifling or sarcastic comments. The minister's character, motives, and actions, and the conduct of fellow members of the church are freely discussed. Several judgment is pronounced. Gossip or slander repeats, and this in the hearings of the unconverted. Often these things are spoken by parents in the hearing of their own children. Thus are destroying respect for God's messenger and receives and reverence of their message, end quote. E.G. White, Christ Object Lesson, 1941 edition, page 44-46. Okay, we got another subheadline, but Tortoise wants to go out, so give me a second. Hi, I'm back, and I'm sorry about that, but I tried to put her out. She decided she didn't want to, and then all of a sudden Con come up here, and then I had to feed the other guys outside. Bluey came to the door, so I had to go feed Bluey, and then Donnie come in. So while I'm reading this, he's probably going to get upset, and he's probably going to holler. So if y'all hear a hollering cat, that's just Donnie. Okay, now back to the thing. Okay. The book the next subheadline of this article is called Taming the Tongue. Okay? Can man, unrenewed by grace, control his tongue? Quote, for every kind of beast, and of bird, and of serpents, and of things in the sea, is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. James 3:7-8. See, I told you. James has a lot about tongue. Okay, next question. Question. As a guard against the misuse of the power of speech, therefore, for what should we pray? Quote, set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Psalms 141, verse 3. Question. What vow did the psalmist take against offenses of the tongue? Quote, I said, I will take heed to my ways, that I sin not with my tongue. I will keep my mouth with a bridle, while the wicked is before me. Psalms 39, verse 1. Okay, before I go on, there's a nice Jim Braddock painting here. It's in black and white. And it's of two ladies at a clothesline, and they're talking. And it says, it is a horrible thought and sad to say that cannibalism is not confined to those remote in South Sea Islands. Devouring of one reposition and community respect can be as lethal as daggers in the heart. Yeah, that has been, seems, in my life. Not me saying it, but being, it feels like the cause of it. Okay, let's get back to the book and let me get through this without interruption and put my thoughts in it. But just thinking out loud. Okay, question. What is a sure cure for backbiting? Quote, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Matthew 22:39. Quote, whoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even also to them. Matthew 7:12. Quote, speak evil of no man. Titus 3, verse 2. See also James 4:11. Okay, question. What are those words like which are filthy spoken? Quote, a word filthy spoken is like an apple of gold in pitchers of silver. Psalms 25:11. And that's the end of that article. Okay. And we go to the next article, which is called Backsliding. Okay. The nature of and tendency to backsliding. That's the subheadline in this article. Question. How does God regard backsliding? Quote, thy backslidings shall reprove thee. Three dots. It is an evil thing and bitter that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God, and that your fear is not in thee, saith the Lord of hosts. Jeremiah 2:19. Quote, if any man draw back, his soul shall have no pleasure in him. Hebrews 10:39, not 39, 10:38. Question. What persistency did the Israelites display? Quote, my people are bent to backsliding for me. Hosea 11:7. Question. To what is backsliding likened? Quote, surely as a wife treacherously departs from her husband, so have ye dealt treacherously with me, O house of Israel, saith the Lord. Jeremiah 3:20. Okay. New subheadline. It says causes and characteristics of backsliding. Question. What inviolability leads to departure from God? That funny word is INEVITABIBLY. Sorry, my southern accent gets me most of the time. Okay. What inviolability leads to departure from God? Quote, take heed, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief, in departing from the living God. Hebrews 3:12. Question. In what ways did the consent back In what ways did the constraint backsliding of the people of Jerusalem manifest itself? Quote, why then is these people of Jerusalem slidden back by a perpetual backsliding? They hold fast deceit. They refuse to return. I hearkened and heard, but they spake not aright. No man repenteth him of his wickedness, saying, what have I done? Every one turned to his course, as a horse rushing into battle. Jeremiah 8, verses 5 and 6. Question. What is one characteristic of backsliding? Quote, and even for the days of our fathers ye are gone away from mine ordinance, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? Malachi 3:7. Okay. Question. In response, what neglected ordinance does God cite? Quote, will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offering. Malachi 3:8. Question. What remedy is indicated? Quote, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me now wherein herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, that there shall be no room enough to receive it. Malachi 3:10. Question. Because of Christ's plain teachings, what did some of his disciples do? Quote, from all that time, many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him. John 6, and then it's got 66. Okay. Subheadline. Well, that really, just that little bit right there, it says some of them just turned away from walking with Jesus. So that gives you, some thought. Okay? Subheadline. Backsliders way back to God. Question. On what condition does God promise his abundant mercies to sinner? Quote, let the wicked forsake his ways, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. Isaiah 55:7. Question. Why must the wicked forsake their thoughts and ways in order to find salvation? Quote, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. Isaiah 55:8. Note, God desires that we shall think his thoughts, which are right thoughts, pure thoughts, everlasting thoughts. He desires also that we shall take on his ways, which are ways of pleasantness, and walk in his path, which are paths of peace. Question. What is especially necessary to prevent backsliding? Quote, watch ye and pray, lest ye enter into temptation. The spirit truly is ready, but the flesh is weak. Mark 14:38. I've always heard that verse. Okay, always heard Mark 14:38. Always, and I think there's a couple of places that I've actually seen it as some people's favorite, and they did like a whole printing of it. Okay. Question. What are believers exhorted to do? Quote, examine yourself wherever ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye are not your own selves, how that Jesus Christ is in you, except ye be reprobated. 2 Corinthians 13:5. Question. If one has God's law in his heart, what will not occur? Quote, the law of his God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. Psalms 37:31. I know it sounds like I'm speeding through it. I'm not. This is the way I read. Okay. Question. When the backslider repents, what does God do? Quote, take with you words and turn to the Lord. Say unto him, take away all iniquity, and receiving us graciously, so will we render the cast of our lips. Three dots. I will heal your backsliding. I will love them freely, for mine anger, is turned away from him. Hosea 14:2-4. And then I have another subheadline that says last day backsliding. So, and most people think right now we are in the last days, so any time could be a last day if you really think about it. Okay, question. Will there be special danger of backsliding in the last days? Quote, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Matthew 24:12. Yeah, it's good to listen to what Jesus said straight up in Matthew 24, because it definitely has last days a lot. Okay, question. What are some of the evils against which we are specially warned at this time? Quote, and take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting, and drunkenness, and careless of this life, and so that the day come unto you unaware. Luke 21:32. Okay. Question. In view of the perils surrounding us, what are we told to do? Quote, watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. Luke 21:36. And then we have a little stanza by William Cowper. It's like a really short poem. It says, for a walker, for a closer walk with God, a calm and heavenly frame, a light to shine upon the road that leads me to the Lamb. William Cowper. Okay. We got a couple more articles. Yeah, a couple more articles. And we go to our new article. And it says Unbelief and Doubt. Subheadline, God's attitude towards unbelief. Quote, question. What warnings is given in the Bible concerning unbelief? Quote, take heed, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God. Hebrews 3:12. Question. In whom does the Lord have no pleasure? Quote, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. Hebrews 10:38. Question. Against what are we warned when rebuked of God? Quote, my son, despise not that thou the chastening of the Lord, for faint when thou art rebuked of him. Hebrews 12:5. Question. Whom does the Lord chasten? Quote, for whom the Lord loveth he chastiseth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. Receiveth. Hebrews 12:6. Okay, and now we got another subheadline that says examples of and lessons from unbelief. Question. What kind of report did the 10 spies bring back concerning the promised land? Oh, I automatically know that. Okay, but let me read what this says. Quote, they brought up an evil report of the land which they have searched. Numbers 13:32. You notice that they sent Moses sent out 12 spies, and 10 came back and said the wrong thing. Okay, and then we go to this one. Sorry. Of the two that came back and had the good tidings was Joshua and Caleb. But, that's any Bible reading person would, know that. Some people do, and some people don't. Okay, and now we go to the question. Question. What did Caleb say of the ability of Israel to take it? Quote, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome. Numbers 13:30. It's like it don't go chronological jump back. That's what I've noticed when I'm reading it. It kind of goes forward and then my consecutive it jumps back, but that's the way they set it up. Okay, question. What did the 10 spies say? Quote, but the men that went up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. Numbers 13:31. Question. Why did many fail to enter into God's rest anciently? Quote, and to whom swear he that they should not enter into his rest, but to them that believe not. So we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief. Hebrews 3:18 and 19. Okay. Question. How did the Apostle Paul speak of unbelieving ones who failed to enter Canaan? Quote, but with whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with them that had sinned, whose carcass fell in the wilderness? Hebrews 3:17. Okay, I gotta stop right here for a bit because I think she's through with play practice and ready to be picked up. No, because I thought it was, but it was actually some of the people I'm on YouTube with that, hits this. Okay, so let me go. Yeah, my daughter's in a play, so and she's at practice right now. Okay, let me get back to the book because that wasn't hers. So okay. Question: what practical lessons should we learn from their perverse course? Quote: let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. Hebrews 4:1. Note: God does not change. If he was grieved at the unbelief of the Israelites and refused them admittance into Canaan in consequence, he cannot permit us to enter into heavenly rest as long as we indulge in unbelief. Okay? Question: what should all labor to do? Quote: let us labor therefore to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. Hebrews 4:11. Question: when told of the disciples' failure to heal a afflicted son, what did Christ say? What did Christ say of that generation? Quote: he answered him and said, O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer? Bring them to me. Mark 9:19. Question: what did Christ say to Thomas because he said not because he did not believe the testimony of his brethren concerning his resurrection? Quote: reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands, and reach hither in my hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. John 20:27. Note: the Lord rebuked Thomas for his unbelief, because he would not accept the testimony of so many credible witnesses who had seen him. How much more reprehensible is that unbelief which holds out against the present, quote, cloud of witness, end quote, of prophecies fulfilled and fulfilling. So basically, it's saying that when Jesus told Thomas, well, Thomas said that I will not believe unless I can touch his hands and his put my hand in his side, and Jesus confronted him and said, "Here, go ahead, stick your finger in, and here, look, here's my rib cage. Look, here, stick your finger in." I'm just thinking about it. Those nails were awful big, if you think about it. We always seen, you may have seen how big those nails are. There was one time, us walking up and down the railroad track where I used to live out in Proctor. Those railroad spikes are awfully big. Really, really big. And us being little kids and stuff, of course, they look huge. aside of us, but our hands. And that's what we would always think, that that's what was driven into Jesus' hands and feet. And then, of course, a spear. Now that I've, done the research and looked at it and saw how big a spear would be, a head of a spear. I mean, even these over here in the Americas, by the Iroquois and they're big. Okay, sorry about that. I just went there. Okay, next we have another subheadline that says faith and justification. Question: without faith, what is important? Okay, without faith, what is impossible? Quote: without faith, it is impossible to please him. Hebrews 11:6. Question: how only can we be justified? Quote: being justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Romans 5:1. Question: by what do the just live? Quote: now the just shall live by faith. Hebrews 10:38. Okay, and then we go into another subheadline that says faith, righteousness, and victory. Question: what did Israel attain to the standards of righteousness? Quote: but Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, hath not attended to the law of righteousness. Wherefore? Because they sought it not by faith. Romans 9:31-32. Okay. Question: when God made a promise to Abraham that seemed impossible of fulfillment, how did the patriarch receive it? Quote: he staggered not at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to God. Romans 4:20. And it's really pointing to, if you think about it, he's an old man. I mean, have you ever seen somebody 100 years old? I actually have a few people. I've seen people in their 90s and everything. And, even though at that time, that 90s and stuff was still fairly young, they probably was, you know, more like what I am now in my 50s. That their hundreds were like that, but there was no way. Sarah was 10 years younger than Abraham, and you know, and of course, as soon as you got around 30, 40, you go with menopause, and you don't, can't produce, you just dry up. Huh? And just thinking out loud. Okay, let's get back. Question: for what was Abraham's faith counted? Quote: for what saith the scripture? Abraham believed God, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. Romans 4 and 3. Romans 4, verse 3. See, it jumped back. Okay, question. When troubled with doubts, how should we pray? Quote, Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. Mark 9:24. Doubts. If you really think about it, doubts are really anxiety calling. Because you really have anxiety and doubts are pretty much the same. I don't know why that walked in my head, but that's what walked in my head. Okay, let me get back to the book. What is promised those who believe when they pray? Therefore, I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. Mark 11:24. The verse that some of these pastors use. But it's just a mindset. If you think about it, it's just a mindset. And he does say in all through the book up to Mark that you ask, and most of the time when the people ask, it happens. Like the guy he was on his deathbed and he was so scared, and he said, walk the shadow back, or keep the sun in the sky for X many hours, or he had faith enough that actually happened. I know things don't really have to be that grand, stopping the sun or making the sun walk back. I mean, it doesn't have to be that physical. Just a thought would be okay. Okay, question. After speaking of the numerous examples of faith presented in Hebrews 11, what does Paul exhort us to do? Quote, Wherefore, seeing we also are composed about that we also are comprised about with so great a cloud of witness, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doeth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Hebrews 12:1. Note, the quote, every weight, end quote, has spoken of includes those trials of character and habits of life that retard or hinder our running successfully the Christian race. These are to be laid aside, but there is one thing referred to here that is more than an weight. It is a sin, and one that easily beset us all, the sin of unbelief. To be unbelieving, therefore, is sinful. And that's the end of that article. Okay. I heard a big boom. So I know you didn't hear it. And this time I think Con is at the door. and she wants out, and I gotta make sure Pixie don't come in, and I'll be back in just a second. Be back. Okay, I checked. Nothing fell. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start on this next article, which is called Hypocrisy, Dissimulation, and Just Recompense. Okay, subheadline says, whew, sorry I got out of breath for a second. Okay, the Pharisees and hypocrisy. Question: of what sin were the Pharisees guilty? Quote, beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. Luke 12:1. Note, hypocrisy is a foreign is a fearing FEIGN figuring to be what one is not. Disillusionment and a concealment of one's real character or motives, especially the assuming a false appearance of virtue and religion. Okay, question. How did the Pharisees show themselves to be hypocrites? Quote, ye hypocrites, well do Isaiah's prophecy of you saying, these people withdraw nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Matthew 15:7-8. Question: how did they make void one of God's commandments? Quote, for God commanded, saying, honor thy father and thy mother. But ye say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, this is a gift, but whatever thou mightest be profited by me, the honor not his father and mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made a commandment of God of none effects by your tradition. Matthew 15:4-6. Okay, that kind of is a little confusing, but you probably need a better person that can talk about it than me. That's why most of these things that is in this book are supposed to be set it in front of a group and discussed and talk about it. Question: how did Christ say hypocrites pray? Quote, and when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogue and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, that they have their reward. Matthew 6 verse 5. So he's basically telling them, don't be like these guys who just show out praying. That kind of is the reason why. Whenever when we do go out and eat, um, I don't pray, but my dad and my brothers and my grandma and my mama, that's what they do: bow their heads and pray before they eat. And to me, I guess I'm taking this verse too literal because in my life, I see how they are, truly are, you know, look so gracious and everything, but as soon as those doors close, um, it's hard in your own home. It's hard, and out of respect, when we do go out and eat, out of respect, I, you know, bow my head and I do. I have my daughter to do the same. Just bow our heads and stuff and everything. And when we go to some places and stuff, that's we just do, bow our heads out of respect and everything. But I when I go out, I don't want to show because of this verse right here, and I guess it's just been in my head and in my life that way. I mean, I guess it's just a personal thing, and sometimes this verse right here, uh, growing up, pretty much was beaten into me, and I don't get embarrassed when my parents and they do that, or with anybody else if they want to do it. I don't get embarrassed to it. It doesn't feel natural because of the trauma that I had to go through all my life with, you think somebody is so great and wonderful and pious, but as soon as you get home with them and those doors close, everything just becomes a horror show. I mean, literally a horror show. I mean, you do what's supposed to be done right. I mean, I'm even going by, me being a lot older, and since I had money troubles or my husband left me, and they were the only place that I could go at those years. I got chewed out, dumped on, told I was the cause of everything all the time. All the time. And the parents would actually they're in the same room. I'll give you an example. Dad's in the same room with me. He's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. And then someone comes in there and just blasts me, thinking I'm not doing, like, oh, you don't got a better job. Oh, you're doing this. Oh, you're doing that. Oh, your daughter's watching scary stuff and she shouldn't be watching that. What? I mean, I'm sorry. That just getting my craw, and I know I need to ask for forgiveness for it a lot, and it's just whenever I see that verse and hear it, it just throws me. Kind of that's most sometimes I get angry at people because you know the trauma of all. Okay, let me Okay, that's my on a personal level, so I really don't need to do that on this. Okay, we have a subheadline. It says, "The Hypocrite and His Neighbor." Question: What does Christ call one of his What does Christ call one who is readily sees the faults of others, but does not see or correct his own? Quote, "Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye." Matthew 7, verse 5. Yeah, that verse right there, got this Matthew 6 and 5, and then Matthew 7 and 5 starts getting beat up on me too. And, but if you think about it, a hypocrite, if you really are in psychology, and which I hated taking that class, but I had to, that general psychology, and really don't want to talk to a therapist and stuff. But if you think about it, a hypocrite is somebody who's narcissistic. Think about it. He's narcissistic. He wants to show out and everything. But okay. Oh, let me just get that out of my head. Okay. Question: How does a hypocrite treat his neighbor? Quote, "An hypocrite with his mouth destroys his neighbor." End quote. Quote, "For he that thinketh that in his heart, so that he eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee." End quote. Proverbs 11:9, Proverbs 23:7. I mean, some verses growing up was, we had to learn them, but like I said, as soon as we get home, doors closed, completely different. Okay, back to the book. Hypocritical tendencies in good men. Question: which of the apostles was once guilty of dissimulation? Quote, "And the other Jews dissembled likewise with him," and then it's got brackets, Peter, "insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away with their dissimulation." Galatians 2:13. Okay. Question: Why did Paul say he opposed Peter in the matter? Quote, "But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face, because he was to be blanked." Galatians 2:11. Question: Why did the psalmist say he would not do? Quote, "And he that sat with vain persons, he that not sat with vain persons, neither will I go in with dissimulers." Psalms 26, verse 4. Okay, now we have another subheadline. It's a lot of subheadlines. This one says, "The hypocrite's faith and love's way." Question: What would become of a hypocrite's hope? Quote, so are the paths of all that forget God, and the hypocrite hope shall perish. Job 8:13. Question. What is to be the fate of that servant who, while professing to love the Lord, show by his actions that he is worldly and is not looking or longing for his coming? His, like capital his, like Jesus is coming. Uh-oh, the raccoon. Oh, the pretty raccoon. I'm sitting here as I'm reading this and watching the raccoon. I shouldn't have put the kibble out there. Now the raccoon's eating the kibble. Pixie's not caring. Probably the little black one, Pele's kitten. But the raccoon's just sitting there and eating, chomping away. Okay, let me read back this question. I just saw the ringtail and I'm watching a little bit. Okay, let's get back to this. Okay. What is to be the fate of that servant who, while professing to love the Lord, show by his actions that he is worldly and is not looking or longing for his coming? The Lord quotes, and the Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint his position with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Matthew 24:50-51. Quote, the sinners in Zion are afraid. Fearless hath surprised the hypocrites. Isaiah 33:14. Question. How pure shall be our love? Quote, let love be without dissimulation. Romans 12 and 9. Question. What is characteristic of heavenly wisdom? Quote, the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without particularity and without hypocrisy. James 3:17. New subheadline, God's just way. Question. How has God recompensed him in the past? Recompense men in the past. Quote, for if the word spoken by angels was steadfast, and every transgression and disobedience received a just represents of reward, how shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation? Hebrews 2 and 3. Question. How are all to be rewarded in the judgment? Quote, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that every one may receive the things done in his body, according to that he hath done, whether it be good or bad. 2 Corinthians 5 and 10. Quote, who will render to every man according to his deeds. Three dots. For there is no respect of persons with God. Romans 2, 6 through 11. Quote, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whosoever a man soweth, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Galatians 6 and 7. So Galatians 6 and 7 is what comes around goes around, is basically what that says. Huh. And that would be a really cool little quote. What comes around goes around, and it's in and put the what goes around comes around, and then put Galatians 6:7 on there. 6 verse 7. Because it's basically what it says. Okay. Question. What will be the reward of the wrongdoer? Quote, for he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. Galatians 6 verse 8. Quote, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil. Romans 2, 9. Okay, he's gone. Okay. Question. What would be the recompense of the righteous? Quote, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. Galatians 6 verse 8. Quote, but glory, honor, and peace be to every man that worketh good. Romans 2 verse 10. 1, 2, and 2 more subheadlines. Okay, this subheadline said, God uses men's measuring stick. Question. What general rule of recompense is laid down in the Bible? Quote, judge not that ye be not judged, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again. Matthew 7, 1 through 2. Quote, with the merciful thought wilt show thyself merciful. With an upright man thou wilt show thyself upright. With the pure thou wilt show thyself pure, and with the forward thou shalt show thyself forward. Psalms 18, 25, 26. Question. In view of this, what are we warned not to do? Quote, recompense to no man evil for evil. Romans 12:17. Not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but counterwise blessing. 1 Peter 3 verse 9. I'm going to stop here for a second and think about it. So all these people who want to, like they said, pour sugar on them, bless them. Like how we say down here we kind of do it, but by saying bless your heart, um, or bless their heart. That's what we're trying to do is, counter wise blessing, and then it's become an evil thought. But that's just the way words are twisted. But just bless your heart about it. Okay. Question: what does Solomon say of those who render evil for good? Quote, whosoever rendereth evil for good, evil shall not depart from his house. Proverbs 17, verse 13. So those who do evil, just do evil, just to be spiteful, the evil does not leave their house. It's always around them. Okay? And then we're at the last part of this. It says justice and final awards. Question: what principle of justice shown govern us in our dealings? Quote, withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. Proverbs 3:27. And the last question is meeting in meeting out the final awards. Okay. What may we be sure God will do? Meeting, M-E-T, meeting out or giving out the final awards. Giving out final awards. What may we sure God will do? Quote, shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Genesis 18:25. Quote, justice and judgment are the habitation of thine throne. Mercy and truth shall go before thy face. Psalms 89:14. And that is the end of part 17. 15. And that's the end of that, and we'll start on part 17 in my next episode. Um, Not sure when it comes, but we're almost through with this book. I think this book is only divided up into 16. No, here's a 17. And there's a 18. So there's 18 parts. And 18 parts. So we just finally, after all this time, got to part 16. And it talks about the home. There's 9 different parts of this about the home. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop before I start on part 16. I thank y'all for, listening to my ramblings and me reading this book out loud of my horrible reading. I thank you, and I was gonna do it yesterday, but I got sidetracked and didn't do it. I really got sidetracked with watching videos and stuff, and I know I'm not supposed to do that, but what is a 54-year-old person supposed to do? I mean, can't do very much. And you should hear me when I get up and walk around. Okay, last week I went to the heart doctor, and excuse me, had all of the tests taken that I hadn't done since, according to them, it says 2018. So that's really been a long time. I thought I did it before the pandemic hit. I thought I did it after the or during the pandemic. But I do remember, yeah, it was a little bit above before that. So that's a long time. And they did all that stuff to my heart, checked it out. You know, they called me up and uh, said it looks all right. I guess all right for my age, anyway. And I kind of was really worried about it a little bit because my sister had a heart attack. My dad had a heart attack. He went to the hospital. My mom had a heart attack and went to the hospital. My grandma, one grandma died of a heart attack, and she was 50 something. My grandpa on my dad's side died of a heart attack, and he was in his up to his 60s. Um, my mom's dad died of a heart attack. So my parents had family, their parents had a heart attacks, and then you know, and then on top of that, I'm also worried about my daughters too, because her 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 grandpa on her dad's side had a heart attack, and her grandma had heart surgery. And I think 4 or 5 years later, um, don't the complications of the her diabetes probably helped, but well, that's why she had to have the surgery. And dad had surgery, so I got get a little worried about it for me and for my little one. But anyway, I go see my doctor in a few weeks and everything, and uh, just all you really have to do is just pray. Just pray about it. Pray about whatever. If we come across your mind, just pray for us and everything. And I've been reading. Uh, some of it's really hard to do, but being raised reading the King James, I went ahead and downloaded the Geneva Bible, the Bible that the Pilgrims had when they came across. So my ancestors, who the Pilgrims, had the Geneva Bible, and so I've been bits and pieces reading it, but it things what I remember and stuff. And I've been doing the Lord's Prayer, uh, Matthew Matthew 6:9. Yeah, I have to remember where it is, but I think that's where it is. Matthew 6:9. I mean, double sure. That's the beginning where they asked him. Yeah, Matthew 6:9 through 13, and and just read it. And then that's what I've been doing. It's kind of been reading it. This morning I did anyway. Read it about 3 times. But, what I remember, because we had to memorize it. And some classes that I had, Bible classes, we had to um, memorize it. And I found versions of it that I copied, and I had it in Latin, and then I had it in Celtic, English, Welsh. I had it in one of them, and everything. I just got in my mind that I had to do it. I've been watching this other guy. How they always they were saying that they do their rosary 3 times, 3 times a day. And so I just, in my mind, I just took it a step further and just said the Lord's Prayer 3 times. But they want you to say it at 3 different times. Basically, do what Daniel did. He prayed in the morning, he prayed about noontime, and then he prayed before he goes to bed. And that's what he always would do it facing Jerusalem, even though he was up in Persia, Iran, and Iraq. So that's he was in Babylon. So he's up in Baghdad, and he would face south, and he would pray facing south because Jerusalem was south of where he was, or southwest. Okay, I'm probably just went over everybody's head, but anyway, if you think about us and pray, and I know y'all if you like these, all you got to do is hit the thumbnail to see, for those that are on YouTube, do what you need to do there. And those that are on the other versions, the other places that I have the podcast, like Spreaker and on Spotify, you know, just do what you need to do to help support would be nice, and I'll try to uh, now that my little one doesn't have to be in high school anymore, and and everything, I can try to you know do better. But I've been painting more, been pretty much going into my little studio and been doing watercolors, and I was doing acrylic paintings for a while there. If you go on my eBay site, you'll see I got some of the new ones are up there. Um, and if you feel free, they impress you, just go ahead and purchase one, and I'll try to get it out to you as quickly as I possibly can. No, I do not do NFTs uh, because I don't have. Well, I do have crypto, but I do not use it because it's confusing, and just one little bit is not going to make like a lot. But anyway, just keep us or remember us and everything. And I thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode, um, which would be on part 16 about the home. And catch you later.